I can let Diane know so that she let people know.
Couple.
Oh. Yes, sir.
This society has a baby boom generation which is moving towards retirement. Their assets are in banks, they're in Wall Street, and so on.
Correct.
That's a problem.
Huge problem.
I suggest that your suggestions about how to deal with the situation be seen as making it worse, unfortunately. I'm not criticizing, I'm just saying that we live in a world that you have to relate to in the sense of how people react to you. I think you need good demands which show up the need for great social change, but those demands have to be put forward in a way that address that side of it. I think things like calling for usury rates, that is to identify a usury rate and say that you cannot, New York State has had in place for many years, and it's still in place, but for decades, a usury rate. And if you set it low enough, it has an enormous impact on those banks, the predatory character to it. But it establishes the federal government regulating it in our favor. I think a series of small demands like that, which are practical, immediately possible to put into place, and so on, would really start pulling things forward. But I think we have to be really careful. And I agree with you. But I also am someone who would like to retire at some point.
I understand. And sir, I appreciate your concerns, and they are absolutely well-founded. But the more I study this issue, the more I am convinced that we cannot count on our legislature to pass these sorts of reforms. They are owned lock, stock, and barrel by the power of Wall Street. And if the Safe Banking Act, which is such a reasonable reform, it's so needed and supported by the majority of American people, goes down 2-1 in the Senate, what hope do we have for derivatives reform? That's the thing to watch. Now, if no derivative reform occurs, then I would say the case has been made that Congress is owned. Yeah. I don't think it's a simple problem.
John, I think that controlling usury rates is in one of the package that's coming up. Because in 1979, the Supreme Court struck down usury limits in a Minnesota case. And that's why we have 400% interest on these payday loans. The poor people are totally caught up in they're basically enslaved. So we do need new limits. And I'm going to check on which bill or which amendment that's in. And we need to lobby for it. But this lady's been waiting a long time.
Thank you. Would you be willing to give a copy or sell a copy of what you said today? I would like very much to have a copy.
It's posted on my website. You can download it anytime.
What is your website?
My website is klbcommunityconsulting.com. And if you click on the link to graduate research, it will be the final thing on that page.
It'll be up on the web too.
Cool.
On yours?
Please feel free.
And on the Washington Outsiders blog, which is Peggy's blog and Ferndale Freight blog. You can check on that.
So it's on your one? It'll be up there.
KLB is in Kristi Laguzza-Boosman, B.
Okay, what time is it?
I have been thinking about the Fourth Corner Life Dollar Exchange, which is on the computer. Are you aware of that? It is a cashless exchange.
Yes.
It's small in the sense that it's services that maybe not everyone needs, but what do you think of that?
Oh, I think it's wonderful. I really think it's wonderful. Is there anybody here from Transition Whatcom? I would say that the Transition Town movement is really the model of the future coming down the path. Really. To prepare communities for the new economy. And part of that, we are going to be entering a world where we simply have less access to money, but we will still need to be able to meet our basic needs. So having online barter systems or having local currency so people can trade what they have for what they need is going to be a way that we are going to move towards, really whether we want to or not, because we simply won't be able to get the money that we need to purchase the things that we want. And once peak oil hits, we won't be able to get them in anyhow. So it's definitely the right way to go. Thank you for bringing
Relocalize
that
it.
up.
How about one more question? Oh, two, excuse me.
You know, I can't remember exactly what you said, but that's so much.
I'm sorry, download it, you can read it.
Yes, but something related to USians, as they call us in Canada, since they're America too, being in much more debt than Canadians are. Didn't you say something like that?
Well, our banks are more highly leveraged, which means that they use fewer assets they can gamble with $1, gamble 25 times plus with $1 of
No, I meant
assets.
the citizens.
I guess I'm not quite sure what you heard.
Okay.
That the Canadians are more in debt? I mean,
No, US.
oh, the U.S. is, well, we're the #1 debtor nation on the planet.
Well, okay, I thought you were talking about individuals, but anyway, I was just going, I can't remember what you said, but I was wondering about medical. How much of that is medical, medical debt?
Well, you know, I'm not sure. I mean, I know the majority of bankruptcies are medically associated,
This country.
but I don't know the number figure for that. I'm sorry.
Okay, and then,
I want to hark back to a question asked of the doctor. Why is it not possible to use the antitrust laws we already have to file citizen actions against some of these banks? Get them busy fighting lawsuits.
Because the people responsible for doing so, the regulators responsible for doing so, are captured as well.
But what else to prevent a citizen scoop like the ACLU from buying these lawsuits?
I don't know. It's a good question to pose to the ACLU, because I would certainly think that they're in violation of antitrust laws.
Yeah. I know that, for example, the baseball industry is terrified of a lawsuit accusing them of antitrust because they have an exception from Congress, but it's federal. I think the same thing could scare the big banks if they got sued by a bunch of different citizens groups for antitrust violations.
Possibly, they just have much deeper pockets.
yeah, that is the thing. Okay, last question, and then, yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I really want to say thank you for being one of the very few speakers that I've heard speak who's actually taking the realities of our current world into account when talking about economics, talking about peak oil as part of the picture, because it's such an enormous slice of the pie. Thank you. And I just want to underscore what you mentioned about taking some of our assets and putting them into tangible sustainability for our own future. And you didn't mention much detail about that. So
It's in the book.
It's in the book. So if people aren't sure what that means, the best thing I've ever done with my little bitty retirement account was investing it in permaculture training in the last year, learning how to not have to have money to buy food from a grocery store for the rest of my life, but putting that money into buying fruit trees, nut trees, berry bushes, all kinds of plants that are going to feed me for the next 20 years or 50 years, and other people in my neighborhood and my community. So, you know, you can buy groceries for the rest of your life, or you can learn how to feed yourself and invest that same amount of money, invest a very small amount of money in a huge production. So I just want to encourage people, you might want to invest in your future, not just in money, but in learning how to grow food that you can eat, your children can eat, your grandchildren can eat.
And CSAs, join a local CSA and support our local farms. That's really important right now.
Community-supported agriculture, CSAs.
Right, our local farms join together, there's 12 of them, and you buy a share in it, and then they give you a box of produce all summer long. Actually, spring, summer, and fall. CSA. Locally, it's Washington, I can't think of the name.
You can go to the food co-op and they have the farm finder booklet and they have all the CS